What's going on, you guys? Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Macro Hour. And before we even dive into today's episode, I just want to take a moment to say something that has been sitting heavy on my heart in literally the best freaking way because we just hit 1 million downloads on this podcast. What? 1 million. And dude, honestly, you guys, I'm so speechless. Like, this happened, we saw it yesterday. Team saw it, then let me know and filled me in. I immediately logged in, saw the numbers, and I was just staring at the number and I'm like, oh my gosh. Holy cow. This milestone, we did it. We hit it. Y'all, when I started the Macro Hour 2.5 years ago, January 9th of 2023. Remember, it was like yesterday. First of all, it had taken me 2 years to start the podcast because of multiple reasons, more so because I was pulled left, right, and all the different directions within WarriorBabe, with team, personnel, product, all the things. And then a little bit of imposter syndrome too, of all the content that I make on a daily basis, this one, because it's just free flow, it's just talking, it's just like spitballing, it's like, and I was like, can I even do that? And I didn't know exactly what the podcast would become. I just knew in my heart, I have real shit to say. And I just want to be able to speak it directly to the women that need to hear it the most. And now the fact that we have over 1 million downloads where y'all wanted to hit, you chose to press play on all of these episodes. You chose to listen, you chose to learn, you chose to grow with me and with the podcast. And you also, there's an aspect of where you click that episode, you're like, all right, I'm going to show it for myself. I know Nikki's got some heat, or she's going to drop some knowledge bombs, or some light bulbs are going to be going off, and some things that can be uncomfortable in some episodes, or you're learning some things in episodes, but you click play and you're showing up for yourself. So just from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for trusting me in your ears. Thank you for trusting me in your routines on a daily basis, your journeys, your fitness, knowledge. Thank you for sharing these episodes, for screenshotting, the episode, and then whatever hit most for you during that, and sending them in your DMs. And just more importantly, for just being a part of this moment and being a part of this milestone. We get to celebrate this together, and it's just really cool to see where we are today now. And, here we go. We're going to keep going, baby. So keep firing, keep going, keep raising the bar. 1 million, you guys, is just the beginning. And I can't thank you guys enough. Seriously, I have so much sincere gratitude for you guys, and for how you show up for me in this podcast, and for sharing it. And more to come, guys. There's a lot more episodes that I have on our belt, a lot more awesome guests that we're going to be bringing on. So yeah, with that being said, thank you. I love you guys. And let's get into today's episode. Today's episode is episode number 271, and it's something that I just want to get real with you guys on, because I know the holiday of 4th of July is coming up, summer's here, right? And I've heard so many times over and over and over and over again from people that they intuitively eat. And when I ask what intuitively eating means to them, they're like, oh, well, I just eat healthy. And there's a lot of people out there that they're just a lot of people on social media are talking about intuitively eating. But first and foremost, you can't intuitively eat what you've never learned. Let me just say that before we even dive into this episode. Because there's people on social media that are telling you, oh, just tune in, or just, trust your hunger cues as an aspect of intuitively eating, or eating healthy is intuitively eating. But that's not how it actually works. The narrative that I want you guys to trust me on and accepting, because I'm going to go into the backstory of how and why this is how I feel about it. But intuitively eating needs to be earned. It is a muscle that you build over time. And I'm going to share why, and I'm going to dive into the how, and I'm going to give you guys tactics and steps on how you can build that muscle too. But I want you guys to understand what it is and what it isn't, because I want to clear the air. Intuitively eating is not just eating when you're hungry, or it's not eating clean or healthy 100% of the time. And it's most definitely not ignoring structure or chasing food on a whim. And that's what I feel like the bucket of on social media makes intuitively eating seem like. It's like, oh, it's not structured. Like, I just eat intuitively throughout the day. I have 3 meals and it's probably, a salad, and it's just people eating when they're hungry. And intuitively eating means, what for me personally, that you have like a deep, informed, and respectful relationship with food, and that you can read your body's signals and that you can trust them because you've put in the work. And what I mean by the work is, if you have never tracked a macro, you don't understand why protein matters. You've never learned how carbs and fats, how they work together. Dude, you are just guessing. If you are someone that hasn't put in the work of years of looking at what a food item looks like on a scale and seeing how much it weighs and getting to mentally picture, oh, this is 40 grams of oatmeal, or this is 150 grams of egg whites, or this is 100 grams of rice, or this is 200 grams of sweet potatoes. If you've never done that work, and you're saying that you're intuitively eating now, you are just guessing. If you don't understand the importance of protein and what it does in the body and how it builds and maintains your muscle and how it helps in other aspects, and how it works simultaneously with carbs and with fats, dude, you are just guessing. That is not intuitively eating. And you can't build trust on guesswork. You have to know what is happening in your body. If you don't know what a hunger cue feels like, but you're intuitively eating, you're not intuitively eating. You have to have, like I said, you have to be respectful. You have to have a respectful relationship with food. You can't fear food. You can't be afraid of carbs. So there's people that you're following on social media that you see them intuitively eating in a day, but there's a limited amount of carbs that they're sharing in those food posts. They don't have a respectful relationship with food. First and foremost, what I want to dive in with you guys is to understanding what the actual work looked like for me, because this is like a 10-year foundation, 10 years of full on tracking, knowing exactly what was going into my body, understanding macros, understanding protein, learning the ins and the outs, learning what didn't work for me, what does work for me. And so this is how I personally built this foundation for me. First and foremost, I'm going to break it up in a couple of phases. I would say phase 1, for years, I would put this maybe under like tracking and bringing awareness and meal planning or meal pairing. I logged every meal. And yes, a portion of that was from me being in the bodybuilding space and having a meal plan to follow. But even in that world, even though that was 3 years, that gave me a whole different perspective on nutrition that I never had before. From sharing with you guys in like episode 1, like relied on not eating the entire day and then having breakfast or having dinner, having one meal at the end of the night, then looking at Pinterest and relying on meals to cook when I did start getting a little bit more serious with being healthy and going to work out, but still wasn't eating enough. Tried all of the diets under the sun prior to even, the bodybuilding era. When I started to track and started to log every single meal, I recognized, holy cow, I was only eating probably like 800, 900 calories in a day. And actually tracking and logging 1,600 calories, 1,800 calories isn't really that much food. It's just the portion of protein, fats, and carbs that's broken down into making it look like it's actually doable across like 5 meals in a day. And more so what I learned in this phase is like, I learned to observe. I learned when I ate carbs, how I felt afterwards. I learned if protein was lacking, dude, my hunger spiked. Like I was on a diet for bodybuilding, but I also was observing how my body was reacting. And when I would feel hungry, like I would be hungry every 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And I would know that, okay, this is a time to eat. I need to go get my next meal. And I also realized like skipping certain nutrients left me feeling moody, left me feeling bloated, left me feeling tired. Like the following the meal plan and tracking gave me these types of insights, almost like a nutrition roadmap that led me to being more curious as to understanding how my body was operating with this type of new nutritional knowledge. Then from these years and then moving into, because bodybuilding was 3 years, and then moving into like, okay, this is where I started taking on macros and learning that there's another world outside of the bodybuilding world. And it's like, I can have food freedom. I can have whatever brand I want. I can have whatever food I want. There's no limitations. There's no restrictions. But it made me realize there's certain things that are non-negotiable in it, like protein. Like protein is an absolute non-negotiable. There'd be days where maybe when I was learning how to balance eating what I wanted, but also eating it in the quantity that I needed it to be within my calorie range. Because again, you guys, macros are calories just broken down in specific percentages that meet your overall calorie intake. Like a lot of people can just track calories, and many people do that. But when you're trying to focus on body composition and building muscle, you need to make sure that your percentages of that calorie broken down into macros makes sense for you and what you're trying to achieve. And in those moments, that's when I learned, yes, I had tons and tons of protein when I was bodybuilding, but protein here was absolute non-negotiable. Like I continued to learn as I was implementing these things. I continued to learn. I continued to be curious. I continued to absorb this knowledge, how important protein is with stabilizing your appetite, with supporting your muscle growth. And it's so essential for long-term fat loss. And then when you pair it with fats and you pair it with carbs strategically, right? Carbs are for energy, fats are for your hormone and keeping things in check there. Like I started playing around with timing. I started playing around with post-workout carbs. I started playing around with, different things throughout the day. And like, this is where I was learning what felt good with my body, because everyone is so individually different, and what didn't. I learned for a period of time, dude, ice cream and dairy made things rock and roll in my stomach in an uncomfortable way. So it's like, then there was, in that a little period of time, an elimination diet. And that's where you eliminate a certain amount of said thing that's upsetting your stomach for a period of time, then slowly reintroducing it. Are you guys slowly starting to hear like this type of work that I had to put in? Like, that's why people can't just say, oh, I intuitively eat, but I didn't do any of this work that Nikki is mentioning right now. Intuitively eating requires you to have this deep, informed, respectful relationship with food. I'm just going to keep going back to that. And this is me elaborating on that, how it was for me. Most importantly, it was every single day me putting a food item on a scale to learn, not to be restrictive, to learn, because a scale and people think they have to weigh everything for a long period of time for the rest of their life is not true. And they feel like the scale can be restrictive. The scale is an opportunity for you to gain so much insight and so much knowledge and so much respectful relationship with food and understanding how much carbs are in said amount of sweet potatoes, how much carbs are in said amount of oatmeal, and vice versa, right? So every single day I was putting a food item on a scale, and I was seeing how much this weighed and how much also that equated to the amount of carbs that was in that. And so over time, man, I can spitball certain things off of my mind and know that this is X amount of carbs, this is X amount of fats, this is X amount of protein. Then I would say like that would be probably phase 1 and phase 2 mixed in there somewhere. And then phase 3 really came down to understanding like the emotional versus a physical hunger. And starting to like identify patterns like stress snacking or sugar cravings after you had a long day at work. And maybe because there's intuitively eating aspects, like for me personally, that every day I'm not 100%. And I know that there's some days where I lack on getting my protein, And when I have a craving at the end of the night, I recognize, oh shit, I didn't get enough protein in my day. And this is why I'm having this type of craving right now. Because I put years and years and years of working into it. So it's like pausing in that moment before eating and asking myself, dude, is this hunger? Is this stress? Is this boredom? Is this thirst? Am I thirsty? Is this recognizing that I didn't give my body the nutritional needs that it needed in the day? And then like, I'll pause and I'll engage with intention rather than impulse. And these are skills that you have to learn over a period of time to be able, these are prerequisites. Like this is literally everything that I'm saying that's a prerequisite to you getting to intuitively eating and saying that you can intuitively eat. Okay. And then I'm going to give you guys steps on how you can do this, but these are like majority of the phases I would want to put you in. And these phases, like the year one, like the phase one and then phase two, that's years. That's years. Okay. And then this last phase is like what I've been in for like the last year is releasing control. Because when I've planned and tracked meals for the last 10 years, there's a type of control aspect to it. So the way that I navigated into intuitively eating and allowing myself to release the control was testing myself. And what I would do is I would track core meals. So I would track breakfast, I would track lunch and maybe a snack, but then I would leave one flexible. And that would usually always be dinner. And oh my gosh, there was times, you guys, where I fumbled, where I went overboard, where I totally overate in a dinner, and then I had a big dessert, right? And that happened many times. That's where you learn. In those moments, you don't look at yourself as like, oh, I'm a failure. Oh, I suck. This is like me messing up. I can never intuitively eat. I need to go back to the structure, and I need to go back to the control. As you learn in each of those situations, you start to gain more knowledge, and you start to know that the next time that you do it, you're not going to do what you did last time. And then that's where you can loosen on your structure and you can loosen on your control. And that took time. That took experimentation, that took failure. But that's how intuitively eating became rooted into my experience, and it not in guesswork. So I just want to really paint that picture of the foundation that was built for me, with tracking, with logging every meal, with understanding my body, my cues, with knowing deeply what protein was doing, what it does to the body, how it simultaneously works with carbs and fats, what carbs and fats do, what one does versus the other one does, how my body feels, if I like all of those things that I just said, emotional, physical, hunger, and then allowing the release of control. That's like 4 different phases there, you guys. 4 different phases. Okay. Hey, while you're listening, if you're getting value from this episode, take a moment to tap that review button or share this podcast with a friend. It's a small gesture that goes a long way in helping more women find their way to feeling stronger and more confident in their skin. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to support this show. I know many of you guys are like, how I want to start to be able to do this. Like I want to be able to start building the blocks for yourself of true intention and intuitively eating. And I look, a lot of the time people see, because that's one of our main foundations at WarriorBabe, is you're going to learn how to track macros, whether you like it or not, whether you have these limiting beliefs on macros and them being way too hard, or you think it is still restrictive, or whatever the stories are that people carry on tracking macros. Oh, I don't want to have to weigh my food on a scale. That seems like it's too much. Or look, point blank, you got to do those things in order to develop a deep relationship with food and a healthy relationship with food. Do you have to do those things for the rest of your life? Absolutely not. And I don't want you to. I also don't expect you to ever be bringing your scale to a party and measuring your food out in the middle of if you don't care what people think, then go for it. It's just it's a good conversation starter. It's also a good inspiration tactic. But if you don't like it, and many people don't, I'm not telling you need to do that. And I'm also not telling you that you need to track macros for the rest of your life. But do you need to learn them? Yes, 1000%. Steps you can take away from what I just said from the foundation that I built for myself. Really, you can apply those to your own, you building your own foundation. But if you want to, a tactical roadmap here, what I would say is you need to track for like a year, point blank. Like you need to really gain that knowledge. And then maybe when you start to transition into the intuitively eating aspect, you still track, right? For 2 weeks. So you're like, all right, I'm going to start like easing out of the control of this. But you're going to log your macros, and you're going to log your hunger levels, and you're going to log your energy levels, and you're going to log how these meals made you feel. And you're going to begin to understand. You may already have the baseline of obviously being able to track your macros, or you track your macros for a year, but you're still, if you log it and you pay attention to what you're feeling, then you're going to really have a strong baseline to be able to trust yourself to leave that baseline from. Another thing is, maybe within the year of you tracking macros, you need to learn the macro roles. You need to know protein, carbs, and fats do, and you need to understand why they matter and how things change as you eat them in your body. And what happens when you don't eat them in that year, right? And even in these, as you're paying attention in these 2 weeks, as you're easing out of control and into a loosened structure, you need to like pinpoint your hunger cues. You need to understand what physical hunger comes from, like an empty sensation in your stomach, right? And that increases gradually over time. Like, you ever get guys like hear your stomach rumbling? Your stomach is like empty at that point, and that's an empty sensation. And you know how it gets stronger and stronger and stronger? That is physical hunger. Emotional hunger is like something that hits really fast and so specific. It's like, oh man, I want chocolate right now. And then with those, you need to pinpoint those hunger types, and then you need to be able to respond appropriately. Do you just need to hydrate if it's emotional? Do you need to eat consciously if it's physical? Because if it's physical and you're starving, man, that can go sideways real quick. So you need to eat consciously and give your body the protein, fats, and carbs that it needs, not a big carb load meal, like a huge dinner and going out to eat because you're starving. Then something that's really important for you to notice throughout the year too, as well, and even in these 2 weeks, let's say you're transitioning, I'm going to keep going back to that. It's not all about what you eat, but how it makes you feel, and how it makes you feel mentally too as well. Like, that's the awareness that teaches your body to respect itself. So it's intuition. It's not guesswork here. And then like, make sure you set some non-negotiables in each meal. Like, protein should literally be a non-negotiable in each meal. You should have veggies daily. You should have a reasonable amount of carbs around your workouts. And just keeping the same structure, like keeping like the years of me tracking and logging my meals, there's a lot of those same meals that I eat on a daily basis today, but maybe 2 of my meals are very loose. Yeah, I know it works. So it's like, it also, like, I always go back to, 1, I don't like to cook. 2, I don't like to think about things. And if my day is busy, the last thing I want to think about is like, what am I going to eat today? What am I going to have for snack? So I use a lot of the same meals I've had over the course of, the yogurt, fruit, honey, oatmeal, egg whites, and a bagel and cream cheese in the morning. And then usually lunch and dinner are kind of like, okay, let me just maybe have some sushi from Whole Foods, or let me have chicken scallopini and mashed potatoes from Whole Foods. Like, it's just very loose. Like, there's not much control. There is control, but it's structure control. I should say that. And then what I can say for you guys is like, review and reflect weekly on what worked for you, what felt off. Did you eat on point, or did you eat true to your hunger? Or did you eat to emotion? Really, that type of like feedback point is going to be really important for you guys to sit with, because you'll be able to reflect and give yourself the necessary feedback to move into the next week. Like I said, like, you are going to mess up, and it's okay. You just got to be honest with yourself in that point where you do mess up, and be like, all right, I know next time I'm not going to do this. And you reflect on it. Those reflections train your intuition. 1000%. Now, once you built this type of foundation, okay, like you've done a year of doing everything that I just mentioned, swap out one structured meal weekly. Like let your body follow hunger cues, not your macros, and see how your body reacts, and then adjust as needed. Stay flexible. I'm still 80% of the time I follow I'm like a controlled structure. But 20% of the time, it's like practice your food freedom. Practice like trusting yourself with eating a meal and either going overboard or not going overboard, because you're going to learn from that. But know that total like chaos in a meal, like eating gluttony and eating until you're like overly stuffed and full is what intuitive eating is not. You need to build that food friendship and that food relationship. Notice how foods make you feel. Like if you know that you ate, I used to joke around all the time, like on holidays, I'm like, don't eat like an a-hole. Eating like an a-hole is where you wish you didn't eat as much as you just ate. That's where you work on building a healthy relationship. If you notice how a meal makes you feel afterwards, physically and emotionally, you're tired, you're run down, you're overly stuffed, you're overly bloated, then put that like in your mind, like archive that in your personal like intuition reference, like in your brain for reference moving forward. And then sometimes what I do personally is like regularly I'll recenter myself. So maybe every month, or maybe for you, it's like you go 2 weeks with testing this and then you do 1 week of tracking. I'll typically do like a month to 2 months and then go back to regularly like recentering in, like dropping back into structure, dropping back into tracking for a little bit, and just letting myself remember like what my body feels like with being in this type of state of mind and in this type of controlled structure, right? And it's, again, all of it is to help you trust yourself a little bit more. I think these are like really important things to take away, you guys. Like building the foundation, putting those things into work, knowing like everything I said in terms of learning your macros, pinpointing hunger types, knowing how food makes you feel, setting non-negotiables, and then reflecting on a weekly basis to provide you feedback. And then when you start actually going into like true intuitively eating, swap out a structured meal weekly, check in with yourself. Like, am I hungry? Is this a kind of food my body wants? That awareness centered like type of question prompt will lead you to choices that feel nourishing. Stay flexible, not like completely loose. Like 80% of the time, follow your structure. 20% of the time, practice like food freedom. Have a food relationship. Notice how foods make you feel emotionally and physically. And then recenter, right? Recenter. Allow yourself like to go 2 weeks and then track for 1 week. Go 1 month and track for 1 week. Go 2 months and track for 2 weeks. All of these are just tactics for you to deploy on as you navigate into intuitive eating. But like I said, you gotta put in the work. My foundational structure of what I share with you and how I built that over the 10 years, does it need to be 10 years for you? No, because there's a lot of learning in there that I physically used me as a learning mechanism to understand the things. Can you do this faster? Yes, absolutely. You don't, but I would say that you give yourself the allotted amount of time to like, think about it. You've maybe been dieting for 10 years and you've been all over the place. You've been on a hamster wheel, left, right, and center. You think that you can give yourself the grace to maybe take 5 years to learn this the right way? Yeah. And I've seen thousands of WarriorBabes do that. And they now have a deep, intentional, healthy, informed relationship with food. And now they can live the rest of their lives with that type of knowledge and that type of understanding. Why you want to intuitively eat and why you need to do it right is because you get food freedom. You then learn that food isn't overwhelming or stressful anymore. You build confidence. You trust your body to guide you and to help you understand what it needs and what it doesn't need. You most importantly end diet cycles because you know how to respond, not react. And then you stick with it for life because it's built on structure and flexibility. This is how I live my life. Like there's no guilt. There's no counting really anymore other than me recentering. Like I said, like maybe for a week, but I'm just like listening to my body. but I got here because I learned. I got here because I did the work. And that's the gift I'm giving you guys right now in this episode, is what work you actually need to be putting in. But please do not be confused as to thinking that the people that are on social media saying they intuitively eat, maybe they did do the work. And those are people that you definitely want to listen to. But you can't intuitively eat what you've never learned. You can't intuitively eat without doing this type of work. You can't just trust your hunger. You can't just without building the foundation of tracking your macros, with understanding nutrition, because in that case, it does just become absolutely chaos. You can't just eat healthy and say you intuitively eat if you've never done the work. I hope this episode helps you guys on so many levels. As I was even just saying it out loud, it really makes me appreciate the work that I put in, because now I truly do have the foundation of loosely being able to eat whatever I want in a controlled, structured, and flexible way. Okay? If this resonates with you guys, screenshot it. Whatever insight it was that you took away, tag me on Instagram at Nikki at the Macro Hour. I want to celebrate what you guys, the light bulbs that went off in your brain, and how you're going to be able to implement this episode into your own life moving forward. Share it with a friend who's tired of either tracking forever because they feel like they have to, or if any of your friends are fly by the feeling type of persons, or even if they're persons I'm eating healthy, but are they eating enough? I want y'all to build the intuitively eating that lasts forever, and I want to do it together with you guys. All right? So until next time, you guys, I love you guys. Learn the language of your body, most importantly, and it will speak freedom to you in so many ways. All right, guys, I love y'all. I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out. Real quick, if this episode resonated with you or gave you the push that you needed, I'd love for you to pay it forward. Drop a quick rating and review, share the podcast with someone who might need it, and help me keep spreading the word. Your feedback not only helps the show grow, but it might just be the nudge someone else needs to kickstart their transformation. Thank you so much for your support.